Hello, and welcome to another episode of Klaus's Round Thoughts, a series of videos where I talk about new games I have played recently and give you my thoughts on them. Today's game we're going to be talking about is a horror game that I actually played a little over a year ago during early access, I'm keeping that in, and I greatly enjoyed. I'm not usually a big fan of them, but I would feel this one is probably one of my favorites that I've played. So when I heard that it was finally going to be fully released on October 30th, I was excited to see what they've added to this game. However, as I finished the game, I found that it still fell down to the tropes in horror games that I don't really enjoy. Today's game we're going to be talking about is Visage. So let's get to the story for Visage, or Visage, or however the hell you're supposed to pronounce this game. I really don't know how to pronounce the title of it. I know my chat was just as conflicted as I am, and I feel like there's different pronunciations for it. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. The story. I found the beginning to be very confusing. However, I also found the ending to be just as confusing, as there's two different endings for it. Honestly, just overall, the grand scheme of the story of this game is very confusing. Like, the beginning starts off as that you're in a dark room sitting on a chair. There's a table in front of you. There's a revolver sitting on said table. You pick it up and you pan to your left, and there's a family tied up, a mother, a teenage boy, and a small girl tied up. And one by one, you shoot them in the head, killing them, of course. And then you proceed to shoot yourself. Okay. And after that happened, it fades to black, and then it fades out, and you emerge from a black goo in the middle of an empty room. There's a door in front of you. You limp to the door, open it, and through it is what looks like to be the interior of a house. There's a stairway going down to what looks like a living room, and to your right is another staircase going up to another room. And this is the setting for the whole game, and you start the game. Okay. Very confusing. I think the overall story for it, they wanted to be open into interpretation about what the fuck is happening, but even my chat and me giving my ideas on what it is and their thoughts on it, everyone was very confused on it. I don't think it turned out well. However, I think they did well with the chapters. So, like, overall, there are 4 chapters, and then there's, like, a secret chapter, I guess, which involves cassette tapes. Yeah, that's a whole chapter, which I guess can be a bit confusing. That one with the cassette tapes are confusing. However, the first 3, which are Lucy, Dolores's, and Rockin's chapter, as it's called, their stories, they're what I believe were the previous owners of the house that you're living in. These were very good, very cut and dry, probably because they give more information compared to the whole grand scheme of it, of the story about your character and everything involved. They were very well done. They were very creepy. They scared me, in a progression that, like, I can actually rank these fucking missions, or chapters, I should say. But they were good. Like, you could tell what was happening. There's nothing open to interpretation. There's enough information given on what's going on, their grand story, and everything about it. However, how they play and part with your story and everything going on, I don't know. But they were entertaining. I liked them. They were probably one of the best, like, story-wise in this game. And even for the chapters, their environments were just as good, which I guess leads us to the graphics of the game. So like I said, for the story portion, the game starts as you exit the room, and it appears that you're in a house. That's the main setting of the game, and very much it looks like a house. Very massive house, to be honest. It has multiple sections. There are 2 floors, I guess. There's a basement. It's a very extensive and can be a very confusing house. Makes me wonder what type of deal this guy got for it. But then again, it's probably a good deal since it happens to be haunted by 3 different people that used to live there. So he probably got it on the cheap. Anyway, it's a very basic setting. It is a house. Nothing too crazy here, nothing too extravagant. There's lots of little details to explain the type of life this guy lived. There's lots of beer cans everywhere. It's very dirty. A lot of cracked drywall. It's getting a little run down. Not the best kept together house. However, where I think this game shines is with the different chapters. Each chapter has a unique spin on this layout. Like, I think Lucy's probably one of my favorites. However, I think Dolores is the best use of it. Lucy's is a bit different for, like, you have a main item, a camera, which you have to use to see different drawings on the wall, and you have to follow that path. Little details start to appear, and eventually, as you enter the children's room, there appears to be a door poster that just happened to just appear out of nowhere. That wasn't there originally. And as you tear it apart, there's a room behind it. And you go through that, and that's its own little section. And eventually, you leave back through the child's room, I believe, and it just disappears as if it never actually happened. It's probably one of my favorites. However, I think Dolores's was the best because they introduced a different pathing system with it. You originally, in your house, you got your normal doors and stuff like that. You reach to the basement, you go through here, which is a hallway, goes down to a staircase. However, in Dolores's chapter, her thing is very much mirrors everywhere. There's mirrors absolutely everywhere, going to even different rooms that's only specific for this chapter, and you have to bash down the glass, and it leads you down to a hallway or to a completely different room, and you have to use these mirrors to progress to different portions of the house, because those doorways that would originally lead you to where you need to go, they're blocked off by massive chains for whatever reason. So you learned, I was like, oh, there's a mirror by the garage door that I can go to, which happened to be a spiral like hallway, which will lead me down to the basement. And there's stuff like that all over. And each chapter has their own unique thing, especially the cassette tapes, which is part of the secret chapter. Is very well done. I like it a lot. It's very seamless too. Like, it can be very seamless, I should say. It can be very seamless. I think one of my favorites, I'm gonna try to show it over here. Gotta remember, show it over here. The beginning of one of the cassette tapes. I need to find it. It's gonna take a little bit. Hopefully you've been seeing gameplay of it as well to show you what this game looks like throughout this whole video. But it was one of my favorites is when we watch a cassette tape. When you watch the cassette tapes, things happen in the house to help trigger this, like, gameplay wise, just to think about it. But as you're watching it, it leaves little clues of where you need to go next in order to get a very specific piece, like a mask piece, I believe it was. It's been already a day and I forgot. Anyway, so you have to go to that location to figure out. There is an unfinished section in the basement that's literally like unfinished, getting the drywall, the installation, getting it ready, right? It's not done yet. They're working on it. There's a couple hallways like that connected with that little section. And I went through what I consider the back way of doing it. If you just enter through the basement, there's another way of going there. You can go through the entire basement before even hitting this section. I went through a section where you start from the other end of it. And as I went through it, it's a completely different hallway. Just seamlessly there. Without spoiling it, it looked like, like at the angle, it's like, oh yeah, that's the hallway. Turn around, it's like, this is a different hallway. Then you turn around, it's blocked off. Seamless. I think that's one of the reasons why I like Layers of Fear, is because they did that a lot and they did it fairly well. And this game does it just as well. Graphically, that's amazing. I like that stuff. It really helps with the immersion of it, and it feels good when they do that. However, what breaks my immersion for this is honestly your character. Your character, for all the graphical environments that this game has, which it does well for each chapter and each thing you do, you are just a floating camera. You don't have any limbs, you don't have hands or anything like that. You have a voice every once in a while, but for the most part, you're just a floating camera. So like when they do activities like digging up a hole somewhere or bashing the mirrors with a sledgehammer. There's nothing holding on to that. And that's like one of the most immersion breaking things in this game, which I guess that leads us to the gameplay now? I don't know. If I would have to describe this game, I would say it's a bit of a puzzle game, very from easy to kinda hard, with very light resource management and survival elements, with a horror theme on top of all of that. That's to be the most reviewy thing I've said in a long time. Yeah, hope that makes sense. Anyway, that's how I would describe this game. One of the biggest things for the gameplay in this game is to keep your sanity, well, sane, keep it normal. And this is where the resource management comes in. You have several items that can prevent this. You have pills that will drastically drop your sanity meter back to 0, so you're not too crazy. There's also lighters and candles that you can use. Like, you can light the candles in very specific locations, and they'll stay lit for a series of time. Because if you stand in the dark for too long, your insanity goes up. But you go crazier. You go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs in the darkness. Just like real life. Anyway, you got things like that. You can't run around with the candles, but you can run around with the lighters. You don't have to worry about the candles going out once they're lit, because that's a thing, and because the lights will go out every once in a while. There's also light bulbs in this game, which you can use to change the lights in the hallways, but I found them not to be that useful at all. I think I only changed like 1 or 2 light bulbs, and that's about it. Also, everything I just said, these are limited resources. So if you're out, you're basically out, and you can be screwed. So either be very cautious with them or keep an eye out for new resources, because there was a couple times where I ran out of lighters and I was just screwed on my insanity and probably gonna get killed by, because if your sanity goes up too high, the main monster of that chapter will come after your ass and stalk you, and they will kill you if they catch you, and you have to redo your progress if you didn't save. So keep an eye out for resources. I had that happen with me lighters. There's, with my lighters. Can't believe I said that. Staying in, I don't care. There's also special items. Like I said at the beginning, talking about Lucy's chapter, there is the camera. That is a special item. These special items, you can use them. These actually end up becoming more, very, very useful later on for the cassette, tapes. Like, a couple of them are, at least. I'm not going to spoil any of that, but they end up becoming more useful outside those chapters. In the beginning, I found these limited resource items to be very useful. However, after about chapter 2, it just didn't matter as much. Like, the candles lost almost all their usefulness, and much more on the light bulbs. Didn't even touch them. I basically just ran around with the lighter once I learned that, like, if I just stand in just with the lights on, which they didn't turn off as often, my sanity will go down. So the having to worry about these items became less of a priority. Like I said at the beginning of this, I would call this a more of a puzzle game, because you have to figure out what items will help you in that circumstances. Like, I would say Dolores' chapter had to be the more puzzly ones to do, because you have to trigger certain things, like where the hell is the sledgehammer so I can use that? Okay. Oh, there's a foggy area that I can't get through at all. Oh, how am I going to progress there? Oh, there's a compass in another mirror that I have to find to get that in order to progress and get whatever I need here. Because in that chapter in particular, you need to gather specific pieces, and that's where each mirror will help you with that. That's how I would describe this, as a more puzzly game. So in the conclusion, I think this game was alright. Was it as good as I thought it was gonna be on the full release? No. But I still really enjoyed it. You can probably guess what some of the tropes were for it, I think, for these type of games, because I didn't really explain that at all until just now. Horror games always fall down the trope of solving puzzles in order to progress, which loses a lot of the scare factor. I didn't really explain Racken's chapter very well, but probably because it's not that memorable to me. Because it felt very much of like, the more of like a Outlast situation. Like, you are in a hospital and all that, and it felt like Outlast, but it just like, you're just walking through it, just experiencing things, and it's just more of like that type of level. Wasn't the greatest level, and it fell into that trope of just like, you're just walking and experiencing things, not trying to do anything at all. And I don't know why horror games always go down that trope of like using puzzles or just walk down this path and hopefully you get scared, you know? But that's why I feel like it fell more. But overall, I enjoyed it. Like, I like the fact that they use the limited space of the house that they created to get all the storytelling out of it environmentally, with each chapter being different and stuff like that. Yes, you get eventually transported to new areas, but it makes sense of how they explain that. And like I said, the grand scheme of the whole story, just very confusing. But overall, it's a fine game. It's a good horror game if you like it. So I certainly say check it out for that. Anyway, that's all I got to say on Visage, or Visage, or however the hell you say this game. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this editing style I'm doing. I'm trying to get better at these. Leave your feedback down below on how you felt about this video, about everything I've said, and just give me your thoughts in general about Visage and why you like it and why you maybe don't like it. If you liked this video, make sure to hit that like button down below as well. If you didn't, there's also that dislike button. You can do whatever you want. No rules? That's gonna get me in trouble. Anyway, if you do like what you see, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can be informed on when more videos like this happen. Also have a bunch of other videos on this channel, which I'll probably see in a second on this screen for this outro. But certainly check out my channel. Also hit that bell icon down below, that we can be notified when new videos go live and you don't have to miss them. You know, because YouTube is weird with that. Last time I checked, still, I don't know. There's a lot of things to keep up on this damn site. But anyway, thanks for watching the video, guys. Hopefully we'll see you next time. And have a great day.